Hi, I'm McCauley, and you're watching accesstv.org.
Good morning and welcome to the challenge. As always, first and foremost, I'd like to thank God for another opportunity and thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. We are excited this morning to have our guest, a familiar face in the Greater Hartford area, in the capital city of the state of Connecticut, the branch president for the Greater Hartford NAACP. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, Imam Muhammad Ansari.
Wa alaikum assalam, and good morning to you. And I'm very honored and very pleased to be here, and thank God for blessing me to wake up this morning and be in good shape and to be here to participate in this discussion that we're having.
Amen. Amen. I'm also honored that you would accept the invitation. I know because of my own experience with the NAACP how very, very busy and very, very important the work is when you're talking about dealing with civil rights issues in a community. I wanted to start with first congratulating you on your tenure with the organization. By all accounts, man, you've made significant strides, and you've done things quietly. You've done things very significant things to make sure that the branch is still involved in matters that are very, very important to the black community. But if you had to, share with others, some of the things that you had hoped to do when you became branch president, and the things that you are doing as a part of your presidency, what would you say at this point?
To begin, when I first became the president of the Greater Hartford Branch, prior to becoming president, I saw that there were very few young people involved in the branch.
Right.
All of the officers were senior citizens.
Right.
Yeah. All of your committee chairs were older folks.
Right.
And I know that if the NAACP is to survive and continue to do this work, that we need to get young people involved. And by young, I mean 35, 40.
Absolutely.
In that
absolutely
in that bracket.
Sure.
Not 65 and 70.
Right. Right.
Which is what it was.
Right.
Right. And I'm happy to say that I've been able to draw in a number of young people. And they are in a position of leadership in the branch. Mm-hmm. The treasurer now, the previous treasurer was Michael Heaven, who was a young African-American man who I would say Michael was in his 40s. Okay. Early 40s. And now we have a young lady, her name is Maxine Robinson, is the treasurer, the assistant treasurer, Chiffon King, another young lady.
Yes.
We have Dan Durant, who is a young man who heads up the education department. and he's also involved in working with the youth.
Sure.
And we have Stephen Cephas is another, Stephen, I would say late 40s, early 50s, but he's the health committee chair,
Right.
and he's doing a good job there.
Well, that's 5 names, of people who are significantly younger than, the folks who have been, sort of, hanging in there to hopefully have this kind of transition occur. I think that, that speaks volumes. Even with those few names that you mentioned, I'm sure that, part of their, efforts will also bring other younger folks in as well, because those will be their contemporaries.
Yeah.
And, those
Yeah.
will be
Yeah.
people who are obviously interested in issues. They got to find out how the organization works, though, right?
Yeah,
And that's part of
the training that we're
Sure.
trying to provide. And when they come in, the young folks, they have to be made aware of the civil rights movement and NAACP's history. So it's good that we still have some of the older members
Absolutely.
there
Absolutely.
who was a part of the struggle in the 60s and what we went through, and some even prior to that,
Right.
going back, 50s, and so they can share that experience with young people who
Right.
wasn't a part of that experience.
Absolutely.
They just read about it or whatever, and they didn't really live it, and they may not value the NAACP as much as those of us who lived during that
Absolutely.
particular time.
Absolutely.
But we're trying to share it with them so they can see it, begin to to feel it.
I think that's fantastic, because we have to get them to embrace their history.
Yeah.
And I think that history will actually be a way of educating them, teaching them,
Yeah.
how to continue to try to advance the cause. And just as the name would suggest, the advancement of colored people, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People,
Yes.
they would continue to work in areas that would continue to advance the issues, if you will, for people of color.
Yes.
I also noticed too that it's not just African Americans. It would seem. It seems to me, that there's some brown brothers in there somewhere too. Man, is that the case? Is there some Latinos somewhere around there, someplace, or no?
Well, we don't have any Latinos that's actively involved in the Greater Hartford Branch, but we do have some Latinos who are members of the branch. They've taken out membership, but they're not really active. But they know that they're members,
They're welcome,
and they're welcome.
Right.
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 We don't. And I'm very open to anyone.
Right.
And I try to make people feel comfortable that they can come and be accepted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I noticed, just recently in the Greater Hartford area, folks were concerned about this taser event that took place, where this African American police officer tased another African American kid, and folks were, ready to shout Ferguson, man, Ferguson, Missouri. But as it turns out, that situation is being dealt with by the NAACP and others in a different way. I know I have been a part personally of a federal consent decree that gives federal oversight to civilians within the city, that the NAACP has made sure was in place. That federal consent decree, I know, is being talked about around the country now as a tool to be used to help with civilian oversight and helping the citizenry become more involved with who becomes police officers and who those police officers are that are working in the city. But this taser event, where do you stand with? Where does the NAACP stand with regards to this tasering that took place in the Greater Hartford area?
Yeah, well, when we viewed the video of the event that took place on Auburn Avenue in Hartford, near the corner of Garden Street, it really looked very clearly that the officer was using force that wasn't necessary.
Okay.
I mean, the video showed the young man had stopped,
Right.
and his hands to his side,
Right.
and the officer took a few steps towards him and then fired the taser. Which at that point we don't think that it was necessary for him to fire the taser. Now, as far as action that the NAACP is taking, we feel that the young man should not have the charges should be dropped. He was arrested and charged with breach of peace and causing disturbance or something else.
Right.
And we feel that they should dismiss the case, and the young man shouldn't end up with a record that will stay with him the rest of his life. And we were waiting to see what the outcome of the investigation in terms of the officer. Did he follow the departmental procedures in using the taser, and see what the outcome of that is.
Okay.
And see
if there are any civil rights violations.
Yes.
That actually took place.
Yes.
If there's any way, shape, or form that somehow
Yes.
he was somehow treated or would have been treated differently than somebody else given the same situation.
Yeah, and that's what we want to do, and rather than jump too quick to call for his removal from the force and take that kind of action, and investigating and checking with other folks who some have worked with the officer who are no longer on the force, so they have no reason to lie. They all spoke very highly of the officer, that he was a good officer. He's always shown concern for the community, did his job well, didn't abuse his power. And I didn't get any feedback, any negative feedback about him. So that I had to weigh all of that when because anyone can make a mistake, but it wasn't like a fatal mistake when you shoot someone and take someone's life.
Right.
But there's consequences for making a mistake, and but how severe should that consequence be is the question. Should there be some training? Should there be some suspension? Or does it have to be termination of your employment and that kind of thing, even though you have a history of 10 or 12 years of being a good officer?
Sure.
So that, I think, has to be considered.
Well, I must admit that's kind of been the hallmark of your administration. I mean, it seems to me that your reaction to events, that have taken place during your tenure as the branch president, you've acted prudently, and your judgment has been, for the most part, has been spot on with respects to whether or not the situation should be, deemed something that is, critical and, community needs to act upon versus maybe we should step back as an organization and look at all of the facts and weigh the sides and see what the best course of action should actually be. Yeah. And it seems that to me, Iman, that's kind of who you are, and that's the kind of leadership that the NAACP, I would think, should consider appropriate. Yeah. An organization that's been around as long as the NAACP has, we certainly we want to make sure we get it right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Because you have to consider, like some people want to react, right away. Get rid of it, and get emotional and looking at it from just one perspective.
Right.
But I think we have to consider the whole thing, because Officer Sean,
he's an African American,
and he's a human being.
Absolutely.
He's a man with a family and
That's
whatnot. Right. So you have to consider him too.
That's right.
In the equation. You can't just eliminate him. And he made a mistake, and
right.
any one of us is capable of making a mistake.
That's right. That's right.
We're not
That's
above
right.
that.
Right.
We're human.
That's right.
We're going to error.
That's right.
And God created us that way. He didn't create us angels.
That's right. That's
he
right.
created us human.
That's right.
And we make mistakes, and we call on Him, and we ask forgiveness for
Absolutely.
the mistakes that we made.
Absolutely.
And, so we're going to always make mistakes as long as we're here.
Absolutely.
And then what should happen as a result of the mistake that we make? I think that's why we have to consider the whole person and not just one incident.
Yeah.
And that's my approach.
I applaud that. I think that a 100-year-old organization responding in that way is a very good thing for civil rights, for the community, and for everybody, frankly, that's involved. We're going to take a break right here and come right back. I know there was a national convention that took place. Let's talk about what happened at the national convention, and let's talk about what kinds of things are on the drawing board now.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
Yeah.
We're back on the challenge with Imam Muhammad Ansari, the branch president for the Greater Hartford NAACP. Again, thank you for coming, Imam. It's really a pleasure having you here. Tell us what happened at the National Convention this year. I know the NAACP is still alive and well, even though some would say they're just not as vocal or not as prominent as they've been in the past.
Yeah, well, we had the convention in Las Vegas, Nevada, and that was my first time being in Las Vegas, which was quite
interesting in itself.
Itself,
I'm sure.
Yes, I mean, I tell you, man, you get off the plane and they got all kind of slot machines and everything right there in the airport. They want to get you in the spirit of gambling.
Gambling, right.
But the NAACP, the convention was very, very well attended, and we got the new president and CEO,
Reverend Brooks, right?
Reverend Brooks.
William Brooks is his name, isn't
William
it?
Brooks, yeah, and he spoke.
Where is he out of?
Well, he spent some time here. He lived in Bloomfield for a while.
Did he really?
Yeah, he went to Trinity. Yale.
Okay.
He's familiar with this area, Hartford.
Okay.
Which is a good thing.
Right.
And in his speech, he spoke about the branches needing more assistance and more help, and he committed himself to helping the branches because that's where the work gets
Amen to
done
that.
on that level, and
Right.
he was very very good
Right.
about that. You know, it's all in for justice and equality was the theme, and that's what our theme is for the Freedom Fund dinner. Also, we're following that same theme.
Speaking of which, the annual Freedom Fund dinner is next week, September 26th. Where will that be?
Yeah, this year we're having it at the Hilton Homewood Suites on Asylum Street.
Okay.
Pardon me, in the Bond Ballroom on the 11th floor upstairs.
Okay.
There, you know,
All right.
we had some problems with the Hilton on Trumbull Street where we was having it for the last few years, but they had booked someone else for that
That
date.
particular day.
And we have been having it on the last Friday in September for.
Now, where is
a
it at
number of
again?
years.
It's
The Homewood Suites.
Homewood Suites,
On Asylum
Asylum
Street.
Avenue.
Asylum Street before you get to the Adam.
Okay,
Avenue.
Asylum. Okay, Asylum Street,
And,
downtown Hartford.
Downtown Hartford.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, it's just before you get. You know, you can almost look over and see Bushnell Park from Asylum. That end of Asylum.
And it's the 11th,
11th
floor
floor,
in
yeah.
the Bond Ballroom.
Yeah. When you come in, you're going to come into the area, and there will be a reception taking place from 6 to 7
Okay.
downstairs on the ground on the first floor.
And the theme again is justice and
Now,
equality.
all in for justice and equality.
All in for justice and equality.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we can digress for just a minute, you said his address, Reverend Brooks, the new CEO for the organization, talked about that and talked about, you know, how to make the branches or to get the branches what they need in terms of resources so they can become more effective. Is
Yes,
that
that's it,
okay?
exactly? And that's what he committed himself to. He also committed to helping the state conference, but the main focus was the branches, then the state conferences. You know,
Yeah.
because the work.
All issues are local.
Local.
All issues are local.
and without the membership in the branches, then we wouldn't even have an NAACP.
That's correct.
You know, wouldn't
Yeah,
exist.
that's correct.
So the
Yeah.
branches are the ones who are recruiting new people and getting the
Absolutely.
work done, actually
Absolutely.
doing the civil rights work.
Absolutely.
You know, someone like him, he'll come out and speak at a Ferguson incident. Or
Absolutely.
So forth, but,
Absolutely.
But the local people have to do the work.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it just shows you that the NAACP is still very much a vital part of the community or the communities that they work in.
Yeah.
That you still need the voice of the NAACP to weigh in on the issues affecting all of us in America.
Yes, yeah, definitely. That's needed, and it's becoming more and more needed now than maybe some years back.
Okay.
Because as we see how the climate is changing, how the racism is emerging, and it's showing itself. You know, it's coming out kind of openly, where before it wasn't as open.
Yeah.
You know, you take 20 years ago, you had African Americans functioning in leadership positions, even in this city.
Right.
You had City Hall, 15, 20 years ago, you had a number of African Americans in leadership positions in City Hall.
And now you have none.
You have none. So see how things are changing.
Sure.
It's kind of removing us out of positions of power. And if the NAACP is not there to address these kinds of things, it will continue.
And we could potentially slip back into some of the same things that we tried to address or we did address in the civil rights past.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that even in the discourse that you hear around the country now, all of this blaming one person for all of the maladies and the ills of society. President Obama, and whether you like him or not, how can you blame him for everything? Yeah. And how can he be wrong about everything? It seems really kind of unfair. I tell you, I'm with you. I think that unfortunately that that racism has reared its ugly head again, and it's really very necessary that NAACP people, and civil rights organizations around the country become even more active.
Yes.
What do you hope to to accomplish during this next term? What kinds of things that you got your mindset on? I know you're looking for office space. You need a location where you can.
It's a good question.
Facilitate matters a little more so.
I'm running this term. I'm running again. We have elections coming up in November. So far, there's no one that I know of is opposing me. But my next term, one of my objectives would be to hopefully develop, a replacement for me.
Okay.
To recruit, another person to become the president. One thing, and I'm here in this position, and by the grace of God, I'm in this position of this great organization, the NAACP, and I happen to be the president of the Greater Hartford Branch, which is an honor, and I hold it very dearly, and I don't want to relinquish this to just anyone.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Someone running in just to get a title and a name and whatnot.
Right.
We wanted to be someone who's committed to the civil rights.
Absolutely.
Committed to helping the people, doing what the NAACP mission is to do.
Yeah.
And if you get that kind of leadership, then you can get the members to work with you to get things done. Mm-hmm. But if you have a leader who is not committed to the struggle and whatnot, and that trickles down to the members, and they become frustrated, dissatisfied, and nothing gets done, and the people suffer.
Right.
And the organization for over 100 years has been designed to help the people. God put this organization in place.
Amen.
To help people who are not in position maybe to help themselves.
Right.
And so he put this NAACP organization in place, and I believe that the will of God, that NAACP has been around for 105 years, still going strong.
Right.
Other organizations have phased out, petered out. You don't even hear anything about them.
That's right.
But the NAACP is still there, moving steadily forward, helping people.
Right.
This is God working.
Yeah.
And I don't want to turn this over to someone who I know is not committed. Know is not. If I find someone and I'm looking to do that this next term, is and I got a few people in mind now.
Great.
That have been in. They haven't been in that long, but they're in, and they're in, and they seem to be committed, and they're doing the things that needs to be done. And if that kind of spirit continues in them,
fantastic.
I'll be recommending them.
All right. Well, that's good. I mean, you know what? That is a great succession plan, if you ask me. And I think, unfortunately, too often people don't think about those that will follow them. Yeah. They only are thinking about the matters that they would have to confront while they're there, and let the next person worry about things for themselves. But I think that is something that we ought to always be concerned about. I mean, the NAACP, like you said, is not just a legacy, but it's actually a vehicle that God Himself has, in my opinion, and yours, has ordained.
Yeah.
And it is there for us to use, to act as a voice for those whose voices aren't being heard.
Exactly.
Yeah. I tell you, I can't help but wonder who is the the Freedom Fund speaker this year for your annual Freedom Fund. I know that's usually a gala event.
Yeah, we have this year we have Reverend Nelson Rivers.
Okay, all right.
From,
Another preacher.
Yeah, he's a preacher.
All right.
And for many years,
Reverend Brooks is the CEO. Now you're Reverend Rivers.
And Reverend Rivers, he is the pastor of Charity Missionary Baptist Church, and this is in North Charleston, South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay.
East Monique Avenue. He's and as you know, he was the field director for the NAACP for a number of years.
For the branches, right.
He was over branches. He helped to, get branches in order.
Right.
He even wrote the guideline for running an NAACP dinner.
Okay.
You know how long it should last.
Right.
Each speaker should. So we're going to follow that guideline that he wrote. Since he's coming in to speak, we're going to follow the guidelines so that he says speakers shouldn't be too long. You don't have no long speaker.
That's right.
And your program should start on time, and it should move right along.
I like him, man.
Yeah.
Shoot, I'm planning on showing up for that. I think that's a real good thing, man. You know how we've gone to dinners in the past, man, and they start one day and go into the next.
Late starting and you're there all night.
Yeah,
So he said if the dinner's supposed to start at 7 o'clock, he said the person's supposed to be there starting at 7.
I agree.
And he said you don't wait. You don't wait on people to get there to start. You start it on time.
I agree.
And you keep it moving, and you don't have people talking all night.
That's right.
And we have that guideline. It's in writing. You know, he put it out. In branches. You go on the website and run it off.
It's important. It's very important.
Yeah.
Time is precious, man.
It's very
it's very precious. You're talking about an organization that's been around for 105 years.
Yeah.
My thought when I think about that is that if you've been around that long, some things by now should be perfected.
Yeah.
And especially if you're talking about an annual fundraiser, something that you do on a regular basis, it shouldn't be something that is haphazardly put together and haphazardly ran.
And that's how we want to do it, in the way it should be done.
Well, Iman, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Yeah.
We, as always, man, going to ask that you keep your calendar open, man, for us and can consider coming back. I know there's a whole bunch of other issues that you could have talked about with regards to the NAACP, but we appreciate you sharing your current events with us and telling us about the Freedom Fund and sharing with us what the national organization has in mind going forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
We appreciate being here.
Absolute pleasure.
And thank you for having us. And we'll be coming back again.
Fantastic. The Greater Hartford NAACP, y'all, alive and well, still considered a very critical, very vital part of our communities, a very necessary part of our communities. As always, remember, be blessed.